What's up, everyone? I'm Shanice, your anonymous radio host, and today we're going to be talking about interracial relationships. Guys, what kills me the most is the stereotypes. I had to challenge my own assumptions based on culture or race. Not every Latino or Hispanic supports DACA and hates Trump. I couldn't believe that mess. But I had to realize that my assumptions were wrong. No two people are the same, even if they come from the same culture or if they're the same race or ethnicity. Doesn't matter. We're all different, and that's okay. Guys, I know it's weird, like, look to the left and right of me, there's nobody here, whatever. I don't know if you guys remember the episode that I did on long distance relationships. I'll post it up here and in the description. I had to get him on the phone. Like, I just want us to talk about stuff that we see. I want us to just recognize our differences and things that we have learned about each other, things that we have learned about our different races and stuff like that. I always say stuff like black movies. Like, I want to watch black movies. That's the type of stuff that I would say. However, like, I've never heard you ever say, I want to watch a Mexican movie. I want to watch a Hispanic movie.
Like, I don't ever really say that, oh, it's like, oh, it's black people in clothing. I know some people, they actually, like, that's like their designated category, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was talking to my trainer about it, and he was like, what kind of movies do you like? And I said, I like black movies. And he was like, what? Well, what genre? And I said, to me, that's a genre because it's a black movie. It's got a bunch of black people in the cast. I'll watch it if it's a horror movie, if it's a comedy, if it's the black people. I'm gonna watch it because I'm designating that as a black movie.
Growing up, like, watching Dave Chappelle, like, when we make fun of all races and stuff. Like, it was all just jokes. And I remember just watching the show, you see, like, all different races in his audience, all laughing. Like, racism still exists, so obviously, but I feel like once the older generation dies off, like, it's not gonna be as big of a deal by the time Aaron's grown. I feel where I read it was like 2045 or 2050, like, the majority of the world's gonna go mixed. Or in the US. Where Aaron would say, look at that human over there. Like, I'd rather have her say that. Look at that black guy over there, look at that Mexican guy over there.
Yeah.
And, like, there's stereotypes of every type. Like,
we were going into the mall, and I saw these two black guys, and they were driving past us. They were staring at us, and then when we went by, the guy was like, stealing all our women. Oh
yeah,
my God.
The stereotype of they be dating a fat white chick. Without further ado, growing up. Like, when we moved to my mom's house, where they live now, like, if I would have grew up, like, in my mom's neighborhood still, and the majority all Mexicans. I don't think I met my first black person until I moved to this side of town, or that side of town. You
would have dated a Mexican and probably married one if you lived there?
Yeah, probably.
I'm not sure if that's what I would have done because growing up in California, and especially in a military town, I saw everybody. Moving to the South, though, that was a totally different, weird, own world of its own, or however you say that.
Do you have to have white friends out here, dude? You know what I mean?
I mean, it's not just out here, that's everywhere. Talk about, like, the things that just made us different, but, like, we're bringing it together. Like, for one, you were talking about a quinceañera for Aaron, and obviously, like, I, being a black person, would have never said anything or suggested anything like that. I mean, to me, anyway, growing up, it's a birthday, and I never knew anybody that even had, well, I didn't know any black people growing up that even had a sweet 16. So
Oh, I knew white people had sweet 16s. I tried handling it. I was like, what the
Yeah, you saying what the but at the same time, like, you're thinking, oh, quinceañera, and that's just something that's normal, I guess. You know how everybody thinks that fried chicken is like a black people food. And, well, for me, like, I guess I did learn this about menudo being a Hispanic or a Latino food. Like, I guess I didn't really know that.
That's why they call it Mexican food, black food. Everything was categorized back in the day.
I mean, but literally it still is, because we can still hit up a Mexican restaurant. And I mean, I wouldn't say that before I met you, like, I would say that I ate black people food. I don't like menudo, yeah. You don't like gumbo, but gumbo is considered a black people food, and I would have definitely eaten that.
Well, the only reason I don't like eating gumbo is because by the time we had to go work in Lake Charles, we had it every day. I liked it at first, and then it just got old.
Like, one of the foods that I would say that I got from this is enchiladas. Well, even though I'm vegetarian, I love enchiladas now. I would have never said that before, because, like, it's just something that I didn't do.
Where to begin? I grew up without color, and when I say color, I mean skin color. My mother is Chinese, and my dad was white, German to be exact, and when you mix those, apparently you get a child that looks Mexican.
First of all, I love wherever this is going.
Or at least 90% of the strangers who meet me for the first time seem to think so. So who did I attract when I was younger and dating? Mexican boys, of course, because like calls to like. And man, did they wonder what they got themselves into when they met my petite Chinese mother that was so obviously not Mexican. And I talk about her a lot because my dad passed from cancer when I was younger, so he was not around during those dating years. My husband, to this day, says I tricked him into marrying me. Jokingly, of course. Because in school, I grew up Mexican. Now that's an odd thing to say, right? Because at home, my dad was very American. But with my mom being Chinese and her family living in the area where we lived, they were the people we saw constantly. So Chinese culture was dominant in my home. But then at school, where I wasn't Chinese enough to belong to their group, and obviously I couldn't possibly be white, who accepted me? Because I looked like them, Mexicans. So I grew up submersed in their culture at school. So when my husband and me met, we didn't have any stereotypes because he thought I was Mexican. Now, he did want to know if I was adopted after he met my mother. No joke, he seriously asked. And that is how I met him, was through school. When we first moved in together, one huge problem we had was a male dominance issue. In Mexican culture, generally the man is the head of the household. He provides. The woman stays at home and cooks and cleans and has babies.
I've also had that thrown at me.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I was a housewife for a very long time. It's very hard work. I was terrified, personally, to put my kids in daycare because of sex offenders and trust issues with strangers watching my babies. But the biggest issue we had was he expected to know where I was at all hours of the day and if I was going to be late, and he should get a phone call to know. Now, before you bash him, understand this was just done in his family by every couple. It wasn't just the females, the males also called their wives to tell them where they were, except when it was obvious that they were at work. But understand, I grew up with female empowerment because my brother was the baby, so things like mowing the lawn and fixing things around the house fell upon my mother, sister, and me. I literally grew up with, if a male can do it, so can I. When I lived at home, my mom wouldn't even know where I was half the time I was out of the house. It wasn't that I just refused to tell anyone, I just didn't think it was important. So we had huge fights that were caused by this because he just did not understand why I could not just call and tell him where I was. And yes, for us it turned into a very petty issue where I'd actually do it on purpose when I did remember. You'll be happy to know that now I do tell him where I'm going because of safety issues, and the world has changed since then, just in case I go missing. And obviously because we have a teenager and I have to be the example. Yes, that was a very long and annoyed sigh. Holidays. Christmas time. Not a huge issue, but we did it differently. His family celebrated on Christmas Eve at midnight. My family does the traditional wake up Christmas morning and open presents from Santa. It makes it easy to celebrate with both sides of the family. And this one was easy to compromise on after we talked about it. Once the kids grow up and know Santa isn't real, we can do all the midnight celebrating you want. Now his family was always pretty welcoming, for the most part because I'd grown up with Mexicans surrounding me. They treated me as an honorary Mexican, part of the family. But had I not, and he just brought me around as a potential spouse, this is what they do. As long as you're planning to marry this person, you automatically become part of the family. They treat you like his wife the moment he decides this is the person I'm going to marry. In Chinese culture, this is complete opposite. You are the boyfriend until the minute you say your vows on the wedding day. That's right, your vows. Because they are still asking if you want to get married on your wedding day. Of course, unless the family you're marrying into is rich. Then it's not so much a problem. And you're thinking that is so shallow. But remember, my Chinese side is very old school, and parents' main purpose is to make sure that their children are taken care of before they die. And while money does not guarantee happiness, it does guarantee you won't starve and you'll have everything you need to lead a comfortable life. That being said, you're not part of the family legally until the priest, minister, court, whoever it is, says, I now pronounce you husband and wife. And even then, coming from a different background, as in not Chinese, my husband, to this day, still feels like an outsider. That is not to say they are mean to him. The majority of my family does like him, but it's very formal. It's like almost like a business meeting you want to impress the people and get out of there just as soon as possible. School is a huge difference. From birth, if you're Chinese, you are destined for college with a 4-year degree, although nowadays you're probably required to finish your master's. As I said, Chinese parents are setting their kids up for long term to make sure their children are capable to survive when they are gone, and in their mind, the only way to do that is with education. Traditional Mexicans value hard work, as in after high school, you go to work. You start from the bottom and move up. While going to college is fine, they believe finding a good job is better, and you don't need college to be well off. You need experience. And neither way is right or wrong. It just depends on the person. I have a 4-year degree and was a housewife for 8 years before I became an author. My husband has a high school diploma, and he makes more money than the people with college degrees at his job in the same exact position. He's also a veteran and has more experience than most people with college degrees because of the strong work ethic he has. He'd been working since he was 13 years old, started his own business mowing lawns. So when I say neither is right or wrong, I mean it. We got married in our teens, late teens. So of course, I tried to force him to go to school because that is what I was taught. But to be honest, he had no support for funds to go to school. We were terrified to get school loans. There wasn't a college fund to help, and we were young. We had no money. But 13 years later, I can honestly say it all worked out in the end. I have a 4-year degree, and he makes more money than me. And before you ask, he has never, ever said to me, woman, you need to get a job. Not one time. If we needed more money, he did side job, or, as we know it now, the side hustle. It was ingrained from him as a child that a man takes care of his family, part of his culture, and in that it allows me to do what I love, which is write. I am an author. My books are on Amazon.com. They are under k.e.radke, Radke, just in case you want to check those out. I have one series, Guns, Rations, Rigs, and the Undead. Undead in the City, which is a zombie series. Entangled Collateral, that's a mystery. And Nirvana, an urban fantasy. I also have a podcast called West Coast Booksters. where we have a lot of fun battling over books we love and hate. So please feel free to get to know me a little bit better. Our main arguments nowadays is about spending money. Again, after being married for 13 years, you learn to either work it out or you learn to live with these differences. Mexicans like to be in fashion. They like to show off what they bought because generally they work their asses off for it. So constantly buying new cars, clothes, etc., which is part of the norm these days with social media, it's not anything different from what most people do in America. But as I grew up in Chinese culture, you wear something until it's worn out. You spent your hard-earned money on that shirt, you just don't give it away. How dare you say it's old and out of fashion? Cars are the same thing. You buy it, it's yours until it dies. And then and only then you can buy a new one. Now this is older generation of Chinese thinking and culture. And as a tidbit of information, my grandparents were not rich and fled from China to Trinidad and Tobago during the communist era. And that is where my mother, aunts, and uncles grew up before they moved to the United States. So the culture my grandparents fled with is what they upheld. Some Asians listening to this might think, that is not how I grew up. That's so old-fashioned. But what can I say? I can only tell you my experience. I'm not even going to lie. Watching the show Fresh Off the Boat is very nostalgia for me.
So one last comment on interracial relationship. First off, y'all, I know I look a hot mess. That's all right. Y'all ain't gonna say nothing. I already know it. Don't judge me. I actually asked this question on Reddit. Oh, by the way, this person said they are a 23-year-old male African American. Okay. I found that women almost want to parade you around even more than typical. Also weird looks in some public places, but half of those are in your head. Meeting families can be hilarious as they have no idea how Black families operate. For real. Like, do y'all know that I don't eat fried chicken every day? Do you know that? I'm just saying that for real because my ex, first time I met his family, by the way, they're Mexican. First time I met his family, they decided to eat KFC for dinner. First of all, I don't even eat KFC. And I know they don't eat that, okay? I know. I mean, because I know him. Like, they don't eat that. First night, they decided to have KFC. Second night, they decided to have another chicken place. It might have been like Popeyes or Church's. I don't know, something. But I'm like, y'all know that, like, I mean, thank you for trying. Good night, y'all. Actually, it's morning. I just woke up. Bye.